Signs are good that the Buccaneers are going to be getting some players back from injury for tonight's primetime game against the New York Giants. Then on Sunday, a lot of things went the Buccaneers' way. We're going to get into it. Then, of course, we bring you our keys to the game and our predictions. All that and more on this episode of the Locked On Bucs podcast. Let's go.
You are Locked On Buccaneers, your daily Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, and welcome to the Locked On Bucs podcast, and thank you for making Locked On Bucs your first listen or first watch every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. Make sure you check out the YouTube channel and subscribe while you are there. I am James Yarko, joined as always by David Harrison. You can find everything that we are doing over at bucsnation.com. Make sure you follow along on Twitter at Locked On Bucs, at JYarko_Bucs, at DHarrison82, and at Bucs_Nation.
Thanks again for making the Locked On Bucs podcast your first listener watch every day, even though you probably watched a little bit of football before you watched this episode. If you're watching on Sunday night over on YouTube, and if you're downloading and listening, of course, we always appreciate you. And James has kicked this thing off with the way that we kick off every final game preview, and that's with injuries. So for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, wide receiver Antonio Brown is going to miss this Monday night game against the New York Giants. No surprise there. Just recently, you saw that the swelling was still there on his ankle. Really not doing a lot on the practice field, catching some passes from Tom Brady, some from the Jugs machine, stuff like that. So not a lot of surprise that Antonio Brown will not be playing in this game. Doubtful for the game is defensive tackle Vita, which I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty surprised that he's even doubtful. Like, I would pretty much expect him to be in that out column. In fact, if BetOnline.ag has a prop bet on whether or not Vita is going to actually suit up and play, I would take the no or the under, I guess, on that aspect. I think maybe a little bit of gamesmanship. The Buccaneers basically making the Giants prepare for the possibility that Vita Vea steps on the field when they know that he probably isn't going to, which is what doubtful really means. Questionable tight end Rob Gronkowski, who I do actually expect and anticipate will make his return on Monday Night Football. Cornerback D. Delaney and defensive tackle Raheem Nunez-Roches. And if you're losing Vita Vea, you don't want to be without Raheem Nunez-Roches, because what he lacks in the size that Vita Vea brings, he makes up for a little bit, not totally, but he makes up a little bit in energy. What stands out, and what's your biggest concern, or what are your takes on the Buccaneers' final injury report?
Yeah, obviously what stands out to me is the questionable tag for Raheem Nunez-Roches for exactly what you just said. If you're not going to have Vita Vea, you need Nacho out there. And when he's on the field, when he has the opportunity, that is a guy that absolutely can make plays for this Buccaneers defense. He can help generate some pass rush. He's good at stopping the run. So they need that body out there. I'm fairly confident he's going to play, but it is a little concerning to see that questionable tag on there. And of course, I'm also looking for Sean Murphy-Bunting to make his debut after the elbow injury in this one. All signs point to Sean Murphy-Bunting and Scotty Miller being able to suit up for this one. So it'll be exciting to see them out on the field. The question that I have surrounding that is, how ready for a game is Sean Murphy-Bunting? He's been out since September with that week 1 elbow injury. Is he going to have the juice? Is he going to be, conditioned? What are we going to get out of Sean Murphy-Bunting? Because this is a secondary that needs all the help that it can get. And you just wonder, is he going to be, 60% snap count guy, a 70%, or is he going to go out there and he's going to be a 100% kind of guy? I guess they'll kind of figure it out as they go, and depending on how he feels, but something to be excited about, that they're trending in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking at the other side of the matchup from the New York Giants, linebacker Lorenzo Carter, defensive back Nate Ebner, wide receiver Sterling Shepard, defensive back Logan Ryan, all are going to be out for this game. Logan Ryan on the reserve COVID-19 list. Questionable for the G-men, tight end Caden Smith, running back Saquon Barkley, running back Devontae Booker, and fullback Cullen Gillespie, which I'm sure I did not pronounce correctly. James, for me, honestly, as much as the storyline is probably going to be about Saquon Barkley expected to return in this game, Devontae Booker, if he does play and has been playing in place of Saquon while he's been dealing with his ankle injury, has done a pretty good job. I think Sterling Shepard really is kind of the big one here, being out for one, going up against the secondary again. I mean, the secondary, earlier on this season, the 32nd ranked secondary, or one of the lowest ranked secondaries in passing yards given up, but you could kind of wipe that away and say, yeah, well, teams are throwing a lot against Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, which they were, and they still are. But now that yards per attempt and yards per catch and all this stuff, they're starting to climb a little bit. And now it's not so much just the volume, it's the actual yards and plays being given up. We saw that last time out against the Washington football team a little bit. And that's kind of the biggest concern there. So with Sterling Shepard's not playing, that's a weapon that Danny Dimes doesn't have on the field. But I can't deny that the potential existence of Saquon Barkley in this game or Devontae Booker. I mean, if they have to go all the way down to Elijah Penny, their number 3 running back, who's really kind of a fullback playing in a running back position, that's a little bit concerning for them because the Buccaneers have actually been getting gashed a little bit in the run game, and without Vita, presumably the opportunity to gash them even more in the run game is there, even with their quarterback. So I don't know, which one do you think actually holds more weight, whether or not one or both of these running backs are active, or the fact that Sterling Shepard will not be?
I mean, it's definitely interesting that this could be the return of Barkley because the Buccaneers historically have done a good job against Barkley. But Sterling Shepard, out of their big 3 receivers, he's number 2 behind Kadarius Toney in terms of receiving yards, and he's the only one between Shepard, Kadarius Toney, and Kenny Galladay that has a receiving touchdown this year. So I think that's going to hurt the Giants. How can I put it? Sterling Shepard being out hurts the Giants more than Saquon being back helps. So I think Shepard being out is kind of the more important one to keep an eye on. And we don't know how much Saquon we could possibly get. I mean, this is a guy that was kind of slowly rolling himself into the offense. Then when he really started to get going, he suffers a disgusting ankle injury. That thing was swollen to the size of a grapefruit.
You know,
So
his quads were big.
yeah, yeah. So he may be, a part-time back in this game as he starts to get back into the offense again if they're going to ease him in the way they did at the beginning of the season. So I think Shepard being out definitely has the bigger impact moving forward. David, does this sound familiar? You've got one device that lets you catch the game live, another that lets you stream your favorite shows. You're watching sports highlights on your phone. You've got your neighbor's best friends log in for the good stuff. I want to tell you about a simple way to get all that entertainment you love without the hassle and a great way to finally get your TV together. It's called DirecTV Stream, and it brings your live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before so you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. That means no more juggling remotes, no need to buy another device ever again. And the best part is there's no annual contract. So get rid of the clutter, get rid of the confusion, get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directv.com. That's directv.com. Compatible device required. Content varies by package.
Back now for segment 2 here at the Locked On Bucs podcast. Thank you for making the Locked On Bucs podcast your first listen or view every single day. And James, let's turn the page back a little bit to Sunday and let's take a look at some of the action that took place on Sunday afternoon, early evening, depending on what time you're watching which game. And let's start with the game that I watched most closely, that being the Washington football team's win over the Carolina Panthers, back-to-back upset wins for Taylor Heineke and the Burgundy and Gold there in the DMV. 27-21. It was Ron Rivera and Cam Newton's reunion. Ron Rivera's homecoming back to Charlotte, North Carolina. Nobody talking about Taylor Heineke, but as I wrote for SI.com, Taylor Heineke comes out the homecoming king, throwing for just over 200 yards with 3 touchdowns, a 140-plus quarterback rating. And the Washington football team putting 190 rushing yards on that Carolina Panthers defense. Really just kind of took it to that defense, which, James, honestly was one of the top defenses in the NFL coming into this weekend. So does this mean that the Panthers defense maybe was a little bit of fool's gold, or does this mean that the Washington football team that we saw defeat the Buccaneers is maybe better than everybody gave them credit for?
It means that the Washington football team is red hot right now. Like, there's no doubt about it. This is a team that was already better than their record heading into the game against the Buccaneers, and now they've won 2, big upsets in a row against the NFC South. And I would like to file a motion for you and Chris to address on the Locked On Washington Football Team podcast.
Okay.
And that is, I would like Taylor Heineke to henceforth be known as Gumby, because I have never seen a quarterback get twisted up the way he did and then get up and immediately convert a big play for a first down. Dude was hyped. So credit to Taylor Gumby Heineke, and I feel that should be his nickname going forward.
I will file that with the Locked On Washington Football Team offices. We'll see if that gets approved or not. But going around, we'll say in the NFC South here, the New Orleans Saints, just like we all predicted, at least you and I predicted, James. I don't know if everybody predicted, but you and I predicted it, lost to the Philadelphia Eagles. But I don't think either of us predicted 40-29, and the Philadelphia Eagles just taking it to the New Orleans Saints. I saw Ross Jackson, the host of Locked On Saints podcast, tweet out that Darius Slay back-to-back weeks with defensive touchdowns. I told him I heard that Teddy Bridgewater also failed to make the tackle on that touchdown this weekend. And then I don't know if it's record-setting, but the Philadelphia Eagles just continuing to pound opponents on the ground. What do you think that says about the New Orleans Saints? And then just for general conversation, because the playoff picture is so crazy, how do you think this Buccaneers defense would stack up to that Philadelphia rushing attack if they played this weekend?
Well, it's a matter of, first and foremost, the game was not as close as the score would indicate, if that tells you anything from people that may not have seen it. 40-29 does not tell the story of this game. It was an absolute domination by the Philadelphia Eagles from beginning to end. So if the Bucs were to play them right now, I still think the Buccaneers would be able to at least slow down the rushing attack. Jalen Hurts got loose quite a few times, similar to that we saw against the Bucs late in the game when they played on Thursday night, but he was doing it from the jump in this one. It was a really good game by Hurts. Devontae Smith with some absolutely phenomenal catches. Miles Sanders was involved again, and he was making some plays, and there was even a fight that broke out that was a good one. But yeah, this is definitely beneficial for the Buccaneers, obviously, because you have two division rivals losing. You have two division rivals that had set themselves in line with a playoff spot or on the cusp of a playoff spot. And now the Buccaneers tonight have an opportunity to put a little bit of distance between themselves and the Saints and the Panthers, who they have yet to face, for that NFC South crown, which is obviously what you want. If you're going to make it into the postseason, you want to win the division, ensure that home game, especially the Buccaneers this year, who are just a completely different team at home versus on the road. You want to play as many of those games at home as humanly possible. So not super surprised that the Saints lost. I was more surprised at how badly they lost. I was more surprised that the Panthers weren't able to beat Washington. But like I said, Washington's red hot right now, man. So, they're for real, and they might find themselves in the wild card hunt before too long.
Yeah, I mean, currently sitting in eighth place. No matter what happens with the Giants and Buccaneers, Washington football team will leave Week 11 eighth place in the NFL playoff, or the NFC playoff picture rather. And yeah, like you said, winners of two straight. They're now 5-6. I mean, that's a good spot to be in compared to where they were just a few weeks ago. And you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, thanks to an Arizona Cardinals win, the Cardinals now sit in first place, and that's thanks to a Green Bay Packers loss. The Green Bay Packers, James, right now sit in second place. The Buccaneers are in third place. They will not stay in third place. If the Tampa Bay Buccaneers win on Monday night tonight against the New York Giants, they will move into second place. The Green Bay Packers will fall to third. If the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lose to the Giants, the Buccaneers will fall to fourth, and the Packers will sit in third. And somehow, with all the magic, the Dallas Cowboys will be sitting in second place. So how important is, I mean, it's the time of year, right? We're going to start talking about playoff seeding, right? But is it really super important? Is this a must win, I guess, is the way. I know in Bucs fandom, this is a must win. Like, I don't know if I want to listen to our voicemail box if this team loses to the New York Giants. But let's put it holistically. Let's look at the entirety of the season, kind of go back to the voicemail that we had at the end of the week this past week, where, the Buccaneers at one point in time were 7-5. So in reality, this team could go 1-2 over the next 3 games and be exactly where they were a year ago. Oh, by the way, they won a Super Bowl. So how do you, when you balance it, obviously it's a 10 out of 10 must win if you're in the fan base, because wow, we're going to burn this thing down if they don't. But realistically, how much, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much of a need is it to win this game?
I put it at an 8, honestly. Because you're looking at a team now that was 6-1. They have now lost 2 in a row, one of which was against a team that they should not have lost to. Again, all due respect to the Washington football team, but the Buccaneers are the better football team. They should not have lost that game.
Right.
So you're facing a Giants team that you should beat. You are a better football team than the New York Giants. You are playing at home, and 3 out of the next 4 games, you get the Colts, you get the Saints, and you get the Bills. You can't stretch this into a 3-game losing streak. It doesn't matter who the opponent is this week. This week could be the Buffalo Bills. You cannot lose 3 games in a row. And so the Buccaneers have to go out there. They have to get themselves back on the right track, because Indianapolis Colts, forget what their record says, they are legit right now. They are a 100% legit football team, and Jonathan Taylor should put the fear of God in every single Bucs fan heading into next week, especially since Indy will be playing at home inside that controlled environment. And if the Bucs don't have Vita Vea, that makes things that much worse. Jonathan Taylor just dominated the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
Dominated. So you cannot, if you are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, heading into that stretch before you get to kind of ease up on the back end of the schedule, you get the Panthers twice, you get the New York Jets, you absolutely cannot afford to lose this game. So is it a must win in order to ensure their playoff lives or to save their playoff lives? No, they can still make the playoffs. They can still be fine if they lose this game, but it's concerning what the downward spiral could be if they lose 3 games in a row, one of which to a division rival, 2 of which to teams with records below 500 that they shouldn't lose to.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, over time, you've kind of seen it. Losing doesn't typically make teams focus better, right? Typically, losing makes teams press more and it makes them try harder. And, I have a favorite saying where you can't try to do something, you either do it or you don't. And if you're going out there trying to do things, like you go back to New Orleans, that team tried to out energy and out intensity the New Orleans Saints, and they didn't do it. Instead, they just got a whole lot of flags, whether people agree with them or not. Which I don't know if you caught it, James, but during the Coach Lowe interview, she kind of sneakily slid in there that she definitely didn't agree with some of those penalties. And look, we may not all love referees and officials and rules, but we all love Thanksgiving. At least I hope we do, because it's like my favorite time of the year outside of the NFL draft and maybe summertime, just because I hate cold weather. But I love Thanksgiving. I love all the good food. I love the treats. I love the friends. I love the family. But most of all, I love any opportunity. Like our family, we don't have a dinner time. We just make food all day and you just eat as you go. So any day I get to do that and nobody judges me for it, it's the perfect day for me. And the perfect dessert for people like me, if you don't have enough room to cram in that pie, or if you want to save some of the calories for some of the other stuff, the stuffing, the mac and cheese, the sweet potato, whatever it is, you can grab yourself a Built Bar. You can feast on something delicious and feel good about it, because one slice of pie has upwards of 300 calories, and that's on the low end. And that's before you add all of the extra stuff. While Built Bars are only 130 calories for most of them, only 4 grams of sugar, and they have plenty of protein. So replace the coconut cream pie with coconut Built Bar, or go for a raspberry Built Bar instead of the raspberry pie. Lots of good flavors to replace any pie, and they're low calorie, low carb, low fat, high protein, covered in 100% real chocolate. Great option for when you're hungry. If Thanksgiving isn't coming soon enough, go for a Built Bar or 2 while you wait. Share some at your family gatherings. It'll make things a little bit less awkward. And who knows, maybe you're going to help Aunt Beth find the greatest treat that she never knew existed. New surprises are coming all month. Limited time flavors arriving at Built.com regularly. So check the site often. There's nothing like a Built Bar Black Friday. Say that 5 times fast. Built Bar Black Friday. Mark your calendar. Black Friday is going to be huge with all sorts of surprises. Go to Built.com anytime. Use a promo code LOCK15 and you'll get 15% off of your order of the best tasting protein bars on the market. Again, that's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at Built.com.
It's Thanksgiving, and we all know what that means. Football, and nothing goes better with football than turkey and betting. BetOnline has you covered all holiday season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this Thanksgiving. Head to the new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus with promo code Locked On. Again, promo code Locked On, LOCKEDON, for your 50% welcome bonus. And it's not just football. BetOnline has pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, even your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait. Take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, we're stuffed with deals this Thanksgiving. Wrapping things up here on a preview Monday edition of the Locked On Bucs podcast. James Yarko, David Harrison on Twitter at @JYarko_Bucs, at DHarrison82. David, it's time to get into the keys to the game. To me, it's all about Daniel Jones, right? Daniel Jones is a quarterback that helped lead the Giants to victory against the Bucs just 2 years ago. He almost led them to victory against the Buccaneers in primetime last year. And the big thing about Daniel Jones is right now, this season, he has the highest yards per attempt of his career with 7.02. So he's throwing the ball a little bit better, a little bit more efficiently. He also has 250 yards rushing on the year with 2 rushing touchdowns. They cannot allow Daniel Jones to turn a third and medium or a third and long into a new set of downs by using his legs and exposing a wide open middle of the field. Have to force Daniel Jones to beat you with his arm and not set up the Giants offense for success with his legs.
Yeah, absolutely. And my key to the game is going to be that straightforward one that you were talking about, and it's what they haven't done against the Washington football team and the New Orleans Saints. That is, don't beat yourself. You need to face one team on the field. That needs to be the New York Giants. You don't need to also then face the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Cut back on the mistakes. Cut back on the missed opportunities. And for my player of the game, the guy I'm going to look to lead that charge is Devin White. I think when you talk about keeping Daniel Jones in the pocket, forcing him to beat you with his arm, it's going to be a little bit on Devin White in coverage and also getting to Daniel Jones when he does decide to run. And you go back to last week, and Bruce Arians said himself, if everybody came out and played the type of game that Devin White did, again, 18 tackles, 2 sacks, 18 tackles. But if he himself can't come out and replicate that same level of energy for his team, then it's going to be hard for the rest of the team to kind of get on his level. So Devin White can't come down while he's waiting on everybody to come up. He's got to stay up there himself.
Yeah, my predictor player of the game is going to be his tag team partner there in the middle of the field in Lavonte David. We've talked about containing Daniel Jones, not allowing him to expose the middle of the field by running the ball and extending drives, extending plays. That is going to fall partially on Lavonte David. The other thing is the use of Saquon Barkley. With the loss of Vita in the middle, it's going to be up to those 2 guys to make sure that Saquon Barkley is not running through this Buccaneers defense. My bold prediction, David, Chris Godwin is going to have himself a day. I'm calling for over 140 receiving yards and a pair of touchdowns. And I'll throw this in there too. Mike Evans is breaking the franchise touchdown record in this game.
Going to top Mike also. I like that. Tom Brady has been a topic of conversation for not playing necessarily up to snuff. And really, my bold prediction this weekend, James, is that Tom Brady is going to do something he has never done in his entire career. But Tom Brady has never had a perfect quarterback rating at home. So I'm going to predict that Tom Brady leaves this weekend's Monday Night Football game against the New York Giants. He leaves Ray J with that perfect quarterback rating. Buccaneers favored over at BetOnline.ag by 11 points, which is a little impressive. Honestly, I would not expect them to favor them by that much, given the fact that the Giants and Buccaneers, last 2 times they faced each other, total win margin, 3 points combined in those games. But I've got the Buccaneers taking this one. Bucs 27, Giants 20.
Yeah, for those that want to head to betonline.ag and throw some money on this, here's a couple of interesting tidbits real quick. The Giants have covered in 13 of their last 14 games against NFC opponents. And the last 6 games between these 2 teams have hit the over. Just throwing that out there. I also do not have the Bucs covering, but I do have them winning 31-23. With that, David, we are going to get out of here. I will not be on the recap episode tomorrow. David, thank you for covering that. Give us a call at 813-444-5841, or you can send it an email to lockedonbuckspodcast@gmail.com. Thank you all for making Locked On Bucs your first listen or first watch every day. We are free and available on all platforms. You need to make your second listen to Locked On Bets podcast your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. Check out everything going on over at bucksnation.com. Make sure you're following along on Twitter at LockedOnBucks, at JYarko_Bucks, at DHarrison82, and at Bucks_Nation. Hope you all have an absolutely outstanding day. Enjoy the game. Stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands, be good to one another. We thank you so much for joining us right here at Locked On Bucks.